So in 1999 I had a problem at home. I had a computer which was hooked up with this modem to the internet, and I had another computer at home which was in another room, and they were connected with a network cable. And I wanted to send a message, an email from one of those computers to the other. And both of those computers had an email program installed. But I was not able to send a message from one of the computers to the other without connecting to the internet. And I complained about that at school. And a friend said, I have something for you. And the next day he came back and brought me some CDs and floppies and said, with this you will manage it. And that was my start into the free software movement, where I, with the help of my friend on the phone, installed my first GNU Linux operating system on one of the computers. On the other, I then got into like, how do you set up a graphical environment, how do you set up then a network with a mail server and all of this. I learned a lot on this travel. I experienced this great power of our community, that you can ask questions somewhere online on a mailing list, and people from somewhere else around the world will help you how to fix this problem. Together with some others, we set up a group. We wrote announcements in the newspapers. Please join us in this garage. We'll help you to install GNU Linux on your computers. And yeah, so from there on it all started. And for me this was really so great to see how many people are helping you with your problems, that you can understand how technology works. And I then also realized, what does free software actually mean? That is about software that offers you the freedoms to use the software for any purpose, to study the source code, to share it with others and to improve it. And I also then realized that this is not just a technical topic. It is impacting our society, our economy, our political systems. And I got very interested in those topics as well through reading the philosophy page of GNU.org and some other resources out there. And even so, at that time in school, when we read about like the distribution of power in democracy, and that you should make sure that not so much power is concentrated in one place, I couldn't express it already like this, but this thought popped up, like, how is that in a democracy for technology? We have this powerful person who is in control of one large power in a society. Is it like this, like we were taught in school, or are actually the people designing technology deciding what happens when this button is pushed? So I got interested in all of those questions. I discovered the FSFE, the Free Software Foundation Europe at that time. I convinced them to start an internship and to be their first intern. And from there on started to work for the FSFE first as an intern, then as a volunteer, and then in 2009 I started working full-time for the organization. And today I'm here because I would like to talk with you about our vision for 2048, and would like to gather your feedback afterwards here at the conference about this. So 2048, we thought, like, how would we recognize in this year if we were successful with our work? What will the world look like? And first, why 2048? Well, there are a lot of numbers in the years. I was happy to hear that this room has a capacity of 64 people, also in Rome. Yeah, we thought, like, the year 2048 is a year where a lot of us, we still have the chance to be alive and actually see that, while 4096 is unrealistic. So we focus on 2048. And I would like to share with you of the area of our work what our ideas there are. And then I would invite you to join us at our booth, discuss with us what are we missing, what are your thoughts about this, so that in those next years we can use the power of our community to actually accomplish our goals. So one area was for us that we said by 2048 all public funding for software should only be for free software. So when there's taxpayers' money used, it should benefit everyone. And we thought, like, if we are starting with this, we should demand that from now on 20.48% are already just invested in free software. What are we doing about this already? In 2017, we started a campaign framework called Public Money, Public Code, where we are actually demanding what I was just talking about. We set up a website with the demands, a video where you can easily share this with politicians, decision makers, public administrations, friends, whoever around you, that explains what are the benefits of using free software in public administrations. We have an open letter which many organizations were joining, many individuals were joining, and this is now used by FSFE, by volunteers of us, by other organizations that are also using this demand and ensuring that politicians, regulators understand why free software is benefiting all of us in our society, why it helps that not every administration is developing software on their own, but that they are also sharing some of those solutions. So that's what we are working on there, and there are lots of materials out there. When you want to get active there, send it to your politicians during elections, go to their hours where you can talk with them and explain them why you think this is important and ask them about their opinion about this. We also are in this role that we act as a watchdog. So there are meanwhile politicians out there who say, like, yeah, public money, public code, it's in their party programs. They write about it, why this is important, but the talk and the action, they differ. And we want to make sure that when there are people out there and they say, like, we are in favor of public money, public code, or there are procurement guidelines which are going into this direction, that they are actually implemented. So this is one important part, monitoring all of this on the EU level, on the membership level. There is, for example, at the moment on the European level, there is a fund with 27 million euros, which was for next generation internet, for developing free software in different areas, and this was now cut. So we are working to make sure that there is again sustainable long-term funding for free software, also by public administrations or by the public funds. For another area of our work, we want to make sure that by 2048 everyone has the right to remove or install any software on any of their devices. And by any of the devices, we mean any of the devices. So all kind of different devices which now have computers in them, or will have computers by then in them. What are we already doing about this? We have a website set up, it's called Device Neutrality. So there is this concept net neutrality, which a lot of people might probably know. Device neutrality is something which we saw, it's mainly known by academics, and we want to make sure that more people know about this, that devices should also be neutral, and it should not be some vendors who decide what you can or what you can't do with your devices. Furthermore, since already 2013 we are involved in router freedom. That means that not the ISP will decide which router you will be allowed to use at home, but you will be allowed to use an own router there. And you can separate your home network from the internet with a router which you trust. So that was something we first accomplished in Germany, got this in the correlation agreement. It was forbidden there that ISPs can force you to use a certain router, which often were also the routers which were very cheap and didn't get updates after a few months. And then we defended that on a European level. We then worked with different organizations in member states. Lucas over there in the back, he is running this activity for us, monitoring this in all the different countries with the help of many volunteers. We are also involved on the European level on this. So one of the things where the router, an important computer, almost everyone has, that you are in control of this device. In 2012, we already started to help people to install free software on their mobile phones. So we call that Free Your Android, that you can install another ROM on your phone and have install a free software app store like F-Droid and help people to get their apps into those free software app stores. So we did many workshops about that. Today actually at 2 o'clock there is a workshop by my colleagues Tobias and Sophia. They brought some phones with them and you can test it out with, not with your phone, but with one of our phones, how you can flash another operating system on a mobile phone so that you have more control over this phone. And also the aspect of being able to run, to use your phone for a longer time when the updates from the vendors are often gone. There are several ROMs out there which you can then still use for a longer time to make use of this device, or even if you don't want to use it as a mobile phone but use it as a computer with a lot of sensors for some other tinkering, there are also great distributions out there to accomplish something like this. So you can try that out at the workshop, or in general, yeah, we try to organize events like this that people lose the fear of taking control over the mobile phone as well. Just recently in Italy, we started Refund for Freedom. The idea is pretty old, so we had people already, I'm not sure, 2008 for sure, who requested that they get the Windows license fee back when they buy a laptop or a desktop computer and they don't want to use the Microsoft operating system on their devices. And you have the right to get that money back, but a lot of companies, vendors, they prohibit or make your life very difficult. So we set up a really good procedure there in Italy, where we also tested that in court already before. One of our volunteers tested that. And Refund Your Freedom is a tool for Italy to make it very easy to request a refund for your Windows license on the device, so that you can use the money you save there and give that to free software developers who make sure that free software is running well on your laptops. And one of the biggest activities in this area at the moment is that we are in litigation against Apple in front of the European Court of Justice. So this activity is also done by Lucas, and he will do a talk tomorrow about this whole case there. In a nutshell, it is about making sure that you can install another app store on an iOS device, or that you can install other apps without an app store on those devices, so they act more like a macOS device than an iOS device. And you have more control over your devices there. This is very important for us, because if Apple gets through with these restrictions under the Digital Markets Act, then a lot of other companies will just follow and say, well, if Apple does it that way, we can also do it this way. That was the birth of Apple last time I checked. So a short intervention here. We are a non-profit organization. We have less balloons on this picture than they have billions. We depend on the support by many of you. So over 1/3 of our income is by donations of individuals. So very important for us to continue all the work I mentioned here, done by volunteers and by staff. We can just do that because there are so many people out there who are supporting us. So I encourage you, fsfe.org/support. And because there are many Red Hat employees also here, there's a gift matching, so you can register and double your support for the FSFE. So that Lucas and others can continue with fighting against Apple or doing all these other activities here. One other big area of our work is regulation. So we want to ensure that by 2048, all regulatory frameworks encourage the use and development of free software. So in this area we are active, for example, in the AI Act, the Cyber Resilience Act on the European level, on product liability directive, and our goal there is to make sure that individual developers are protected. Mm-hmm. So we make it sure that there are clear exceptions for individuals developing free software. We make sure that, like for example, the warranty regulations, they are transferred from those developing software to those who are actually deploying software, and also that the compliance needs to be done by those who financially significantly benefit from that, and not an individual who wants to help others by publishing software which is useful to others, and then being held responsible by a big company that says, like, we use this, it's this person's fault and that person should comply with the regulations. Yeah, and at the moment we are involved a lot there with the market surveillance authorities, which are implementing this Cyber Resilience Act. So a lot of policy work there going on. If you're interested in this, also just come to our booth and we can go into more details there. Because we are working on several exceptions there for free software in those regulations, and incentivizing the use and development of free software in legislation, we also focus on open washing and what to do about open washing, where we mean that people say, this is free software, so we want to benefit from the good name, the good promotion of free software, open source software, and want to even get the benefits in those regulations, but actually it's not free software because some important components are still proprietary, and there's just, to the outside it looks like it is free software, and that's something which we think it's important to call that out as a community, that it's fine if you develop something which is not proprietary software, but at least you shouldn't call it that it's free software, and thereby make it difficult for people to see, like, what do I want to use on for my computing. Another big area for us is that we want to see that in 2048 legal and licensing decisions are based on facts and not some fear, uncertainty and doubt. And that developers can mainly code and don't have to care that much about legal issues. This is something that we already in the mid-2000s we saw that there were many developers who wanted to use free software in their companies, but the legal department said, no, we can't use this, because if we use this then we have to publish all our code and our data, and there were some ridiculous thoughts about what you have to do if you use free software in your companies. And it's of course also difficult if the FSFE explains them, no, that's not the case. So what we did is we were setting up a mailing list and meetings for people who are working in those companies or as in law firms, and make sure that they can talk with each other and exchange knowledge about this. Because if one other big company is telling the lawyers from the other big company that, well, we are doing it this way, this is not a problem, we have done that since 5 years, nobody sued us, then they believe that more than if the Free Software Foundation Europe is telling them that's not a problem, you should use free software. So we have done that since 2006. It's the biggest network for people involved in legal and licensing questions, with over 400 people around the world, with an event once a year to make sure that they base their decision against free software on facts if they want to decide against free software, which doesn't make sense, but they can do. We are also involved in several activities there to spread knowledge about education with Horizon Europe, like EU projects where we help the developers there that they are actually then publishing their results as free software, answering questions of individual developers who want to know what they have to do to combine software with each other, to publish software. We have several resources on our website where you can understand, where you can learn some basics on those topics, but also some more details about licensing questions. Furthermore, we are providing a format called Legal Education Day, where we go at conferences, to companies, to organizations, and teach some basics about free software and legal topics like what is copyright, what are trademarks, what are patents, how do you define what is the license of your software, some tips and tricks. So that's something we also offer there, and also share the videos online. And one technical tool, I think a lot of you like tools. We also provide a lot of tooling around reuse.software. That's some simple guidelines how to make sure that it's easier for humans and machines to understand what obligations you have if you use a certain software. And that's something which is meanwhile implemented also by a lot of projects from like the KDE communities using that a lot, the Linux kernel community implemented those guidelines, and there are other companies who are using this. So that's something which we encourage people to use. So it's easier to know what obligations do I have, what rights do I have, and that you can also automate processes about this. And the other area for us is the younger generations, and there we would like to see in 2048 young people have the opportunity to tinker, to experiment and to code, and that free software is the default there. What we are already doing there is we have a European-wide coding competition for teenagers. So they can work on any project they want for several months. And we had really great projects there, like for example this one here. He developed this smart table which has a remote control, and then his mother, who was in a wheelchair at that time, could then tell the table that it should come to her in the wheelchair, and it could help with several things there. So we had projects like this and many other cool projects where we want to communicate it to teenagers in Europe that there are others who are their same age or even younger who do really amazing things with technology. And that it's cool to do this, and that you don't need to look to Silicon Valley and some big shots there, that no, it's actually people here who can do really cool things with technology. And it's cool to do cool things with technology for our society. So that's what we want to transport there. We then bring the winners to an award ceremony in Brussels, that they can meet with each other. We also make sure to connect them then with other people in the free software community which are around their projects, encourage them to also submit talks to conferences, like here at this conference. Last year's winner Sophia is here and will talk about a free software project helping people with dementia. So that's also on the schedule for Saturday. And we make sure that we also have some fun together, tinkering a bit together and connecting with each other, so that people from all around Europe who are interested in the same topics come together there, have fun, get an award. We give them an award from 1,024 to 4,096 euros, which they can then invest into their projects, future projects there. And yeah, we are there together with their families. Also a nice side effect, some families notice the first time there that, oh, my child is not considered awkward, but all the people here understand what my child is doing and think it's amazing what my child is doing. So yeah, we had a lot of fun there. And then the other part which is, so this was 14 to 18 years. We also have something for starting for 6-year-olds. So we have a story tale about tinkering, about experimenting, about programming, what is software, what is hardware, which is called Ada and Sangemann, The Tale of Software, Skateboards and Raspberry Ice Cream. It's started as a book. I did some bedtime stories for my own children, then wrote a book out of that. It's meanwhile translated to over 16 languages. Here we have the Czech translation, which was done since last year's DevConf. We need still people who do test readings, so if you are interested in that, reach out. Also, if you're interested to do other languages, it's all published under free licenses, CC BY, share alike, like Wikipedia. And we are then publishing the books, find publishers or publish it themselves, and they are then used to do readings in schools. Like I have done in the last month's readings for over 1,500 children. Go there, tell them about it. Afterwards there are then like 2 girls like, oh, I want to start coding. Yeah, they are very interested in this and discuss with you what they want to invent, what issues they have with computers and technology. There are, this is something from the French Ministry of Education. They also do those readings and encourage teachers to use it in school. We had teachers who read that with their children, and then afterwards the children had to write an email, a letter to one of the characters in the book, what they think about his behavior. restricting the devices for the children there. So it's really great to see how much they already understand at a very low age, like 6, 7, 8, 9 years. And they then also send us like inventions, what they want to do, like this machine which can scan any object and also show that from the inside, or this t-shirt producing machine for your soccer club. Yeah, and one of the things there was that also we have a lot of volunteers, and I hope to also encourage some of you to take the materials, go to schools and read this to them and combine it maybe with some programming courses also. We saw that there was way more demand, so we were able to raise some funds to make a movie out of that. So the story is also available in English, Spanish, French, and Danish and German. And you can also find it all under free licenses to use that in schools, materials, wherever. Like if you have to install machines for schools, put it in the video folder in the languages you want. It's all possible, it's free licenses. And yeah, so this was a short round of the larger areas of FSFE's involvement and how we think we might recognize that we have been successful. I've also received feedback before from people like at Radek gave me feedback about the financing, so that every company benefiting from free software will also contribute back to free software. Or connected with a talk we have on Saturday about a Fediverse, that online communication is mainly done with decentralized networks instead of those centralized networks which have a lot of control in our societies and are endangering democracy. I think if we have been successful with the movement, we might be here for the 40th edition of DevConf, if I counted right. And yeah, if any one of you is interested to talk with us about it, I'm here until the end of Saturday. I would love to talk with you about your ideas, your feedback about this. What are we missing? What should we pay more attention to? Yeah, the booth is there. I would like to talk with you about this. And I would like to close with one quote. So my first teacher wrote that down for me in one of those books. Many small people in many small places do many small things that can alter the face of the world. I would like to encourage you, don't wait for some heroes, don't wait till you feel ready to become a hero yourself. Start with something, do something now, and the sum of all those activities that will accomplish change, and not us waiting for some heroes. And to give you one concrete example, I will include one other activity we are doing. The 14th of February, we always celebrate I Love Free Software Day. We will also do that on the 14th of February 2048. So set up a reminder on your phone, repeating reminder for the 14th of February till 2048 to say thank you to other people in the free software community. We are often very critical, we criticize each other, we send bug reports, feature requests, we sometimes forget to say thank you. So on the 14th of February, say thank you to others who make sure that you benefit from this software that allows you to use, study, share and improve it. So thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to your feedback. We have a little bit for 1 or 2 questions maybe, right? Yeah.
Definitely.
Yes.
Okay, can I just ask I'm a member of the Fedora Council, so we're in Fedora community. We're having a bit of an issue with getting younger people involved in the open source project, because there's like currently legal consultations told us that we cannot let people younger than 16 years old to become members of the community. Mm-hmm. And I wonder if it's something in the scope of FSFE, if you're like aware of, can we ask for how basically to find a legal framework which would allow us to like let younger people, like 14 years old people, 12 years old people, mm-hmm. to participate in what kind of legal measures we can apply to the community.
Yeah, so there are many aspects of that. Yes. So the question was, it was from a member of the Fedora
Linux community.
Fedora community, and it's about like getting younger people involved. And they were told by a legal counsel that it's you cannot have younger people than 16 or 14, 16 involved in becoming members of the community. And yeah, so that's a topic I would love to discuss with you at the booth. So we also, with the youth competition, we also had those questions about what is the age of when can people participate, what do we have to comply with. We also have some experience with other event organizers that are organizing events where they show where they teach programming after we have done one of those readings, which is then often done together, like with schools and the teachers there. So that's something where I would love to connect with you and make sure that we connect with others to see like how did they solve those topics and what you can do about that. I think it's also a big issue there. I fully understand that there is a lot of legislation now which doesn't allow people younger than 14, for example, to set up accounts on some social media platforms. On the other hand, I think it's really bad if there are, I mean, I know one of the winners of Youth Hacking for Freedom, she started programming when she was 8 and hacked the public administration's council thing and had the data there. So there are people who are interested in technology from the beginning, from very young age already, and it's a problem that they cannot participate on an equal level on like Git hosting platforms and get other resources or participate at events. I think we should not make it hard for young people who want to get into technology, but should make it easy. I think we are. Oh,
maybe
okay.
A basic question. Google has recently crippled charging on one of the response stages itself. If not in order to protect the user's physical safety, but at least their brand reputation, I guess. And there are also appliances like medical appliances, heavy machinery like forklifts, and that probably shouldn't be strictly to run with custom firmware on that. So I wonder how this meshes with your stated goal of letting anyone run custom code on the appliances.
So there was a question about how is the situation with some devices like medical devices, or there are some other examples. How does that work with, should that really be the case that you should be allowed to use modified software on those devices? So our position is that you should be allowed to use another software on those devices. No matter if it's a car, if it's if you own the car, if it's a medical device by you, or whatever it is, you should be, as a first rule, you should be allowed to use that. But that doesn't mean that other regulations are completely set aside. So if someone is tinkering with their car and trying to understand how can I make a repair of this tractor when the manufacturer of the tractor doesn't allow you to make this repair or this modification, as a farmer you should be allowed to change this and run another software on this, or another company should be allowed to understand how the software works and make modifications there. That doesn't mean that without any certification you should be allowed to use this new device on a public road. And the same for other areas. Like it then also depends on like what could be the result of this modification there. That you should get a certification if you load other software on something like a large vehicle which can kill people and you drive that on a public road. But we see that a lot of restrictions are done in areas where there is not that much harm done, or it's mainly in the interest of the companies to have a monopoly over the services they provide there, and or to also destroy other businesses, like in the example of farmers, where then John Deere is setting the rules for all the farmers out there, and no companies or farmers are allowed to make modifications there. And what the effect there is that they will all lose their farms and John Deere will own them. So, and yeah, it is for some of those areas you should apply normal safety measures, and it should not be, you have to justify your doings in front of court if you do something wrong there. And for some things you might also have to, like with a car, you also have to justify, like, oh, I put other tires there. You could have done that also in the past without computers, but if you cause an accident, court will say, well, you used own tires there, you should know what you are doing, so the punishment you will get might be higher than if you're using the tires from the manufacturer who certified them. So, yes.
Thank you very much, Matthias.
Thank you all.